as part of the delegation with the provincial leadership of the Department of Agriculture. We traveled to Serbia. Which other countries going to? Belarus. We also went to Belarus.
Yes, Belarus. Yeah, quite a few Eastern European countries.
We went to Eastern Europe. He's a good friend, Gugulethu. I always say Gigi Xaba because he's got an English name, which I'm not going to mention today. He's a good friend, very bright. The man I highly respect, Kakulu. He's Onokozi every day, every weekdays, speaking on business issues, business and economic issues. He's a business strategist, a very well-learned friend of mine with a master's in economics, and there's a lot that he's achieved in his life. Very strong in the agricultural space and various other areas. Now, Siagwamgela Nonkos Shwabate.
Zarangat, thank you so much. Let me truly appreciate your good welcome as well as the viewers out there.
Nonkosi, we're having this conversation at probably in the middle of a very difficult time, not just in the country, but the world at large. We are in South Africa on the 44th day of the lockdown, if I'm not mistaken. It started on the 26th of March, and today being the 8th of May, we are, I think, somewhere in the middle of 40s. So it's been a long stretch. It has, in my view, it's been very necessary that we go through this phase. The president has provided amazing and impeccable leadership during this phase, alongside with the National Command Center. What is your view on, was it necessary to go through? What is your view on the lockdown so far?
No, thanks, Nhlanhla. I think you've just surmised the whole situation very well, especially in as far as the response that the government, starting with the leader of government, as well as everyone who is involved in trying to ensure that we flatten the curve, as it were.
Right.
There's nothing that I think South Africa could have done other than what they saw it done elsewhere. Because remember, this is a very unique problem. And it's a unique situation that I think world over leaders are trying by all means to find their fit in terms of how to solve this problem. So South Africa, having learned from China, specifically Wuhan, as well as other parts of the world, other countries, had to follow suit in terms of trying to flatten the curve and ensure that we lock down the country, which, as you know, Gauteng started being an epicenter of this virus, and understand now it has moved to Western Cape. So eventually all over the country now we have got the people affected by COVID-19. So there was absolutely no other way but to follow what is termed the best practice of the time, locking down the country.
To flatten the curve. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Nonkosi. I mean, if you look at some of the additional advantages to add to what you are saying, it gave us an opportunity to create a culture which we never had, to create awareness, the culture of social distancing, the culture of washing hands. I always say, I probably wash my hands the last 44 days or 50 days. I've washed my hands more than I've been washing my hands over the last 44 years, of my life. But guess what? It is necessary. It's created that awareness of hygiene, which is something that we're all wearing masks, even when we're driving, when we get out of the car, etc., etc. So it's something, I think the lockdown has really helped to create awareness, to flatten the curve, but also it's given government time, which I always say, it's buying time. Government has bought time to prepare itself, in the event of, mass infections and more people, needing to go to the hospital. So some provinces are ready with quite a number of beds, a few hundred and a few thousand beds extra, particularly to address the land, but also, to buy additional equipment like the ventilators, which might be needed if people go to ICU. So I actually think it's been something that is necessary for the country to be prepared, if we go through. However, as good as it is, the longer we stay we under lockdown. The truth is, the scientists are saying, Nonkosi, the vaccine might take us another 18 months before we get a breakthrough. Now, the question that I have is, do we wait to open to open business until we have a vaccine? Do we wait to June? Do we wait, September when it's hotter, in spring? But before we get there, what is the negative impact, Nonkosi, of this on the economy of the lockdown?
Yeah, Nhlanhla, thanks so much for that. I think first let me state, as in following what you've just said, about this era that we find ourselves in. Before, perhaps just allow me, before answering your question, we know that in history, there are times such as this that come like a wave once in a while.
Right.
And these times are called critical junctures, which are real times that come and simply reset the history of the universe, in particular the people that inhabit the earth.
That's right.
If we read and look sort of like in hindsight, we can see these things have happened before. Many people have heard of the 1918 to 20 sort of pandemic, that's a flu, as well as the Spanish flu, as well as many others that had come before and others that came subsequently, together with the very big events that were negatively affecting people across the world, like the world wars, World War I and World War II, and many others that came. So I think this is one such moment where we are going through a critical juncture situation, the entire world. And if we come down to South Africa, I think you asked the question as to what's the impact. You must, I think, remember that when this moment of situation hits us, we were already going through problems of our own as a country.
That's right.
Of no growth in terms of our economy, of some of the state-owned entities, particularly Eskom,
right,
which is an engine of economy in the country, and many other things that were really not very good in terms of the growth of the economy of the country. So we are hit with a double whammy, or the triple whammy if you want, where we are finding ourselves having to now deal with the COVID-19, which is affecting a lot of people, not just a lot of people, actually everybody is affected by COVID-19. If you look at 2008, 2009 financial crisis, which was said to be the biggest after the Great Depression, you realize that this one may even be double big in terms of its impact. Because when we lost jobs in 2008, we lost about 1 million jobs.
Yeah.
And again, you must remember, losing just one job complicates a lot of people's lives, because if you look at one person who supports, especially in our Black families, you have one person supporting no less than 6 or 7 people.
That's right.
So the whole effect of one person losing a job is very much mammoth. It's beyond just me losing a job. It's about impacting negatively a whole lot of people that I am supporting. So 1 million jobs were lost in 2008. And now we are coming to this era where our projections when we started off were saying we're going to lose maybe a couple of million jobs. But as much as I do, that even our own treasury has since come and said, no, the job losses will be humongous right across the different sectors of our economy.
Yeah.
So definitely this has had a huge bearing on the lives of many people. And it's going to have a very long-term effect in terms of what is called your PUI index, your poverty, unemployment, and inequality. I think we're going to discuss that. That's just one area which is going to be fully sort of impacted by this type of situation.
You've unpacked it, Nonkosi. So you're basically saying if we lose 3 million, using your statistics, it will be 18 million. If we lose 3 million jobs, it will be 18 million people that will be affected, hypothetically.
Absolutely.
If we lose 5 million jobs, it will be you know, 30 million that will go into poverty, on top of the couple of millions already that are already in poverty in the country. You know, we're already sitting at over 15 million people in poverty. So the probability might be that we might go to the 40s out of the 55, 60 million people.
Absolutely. Again, I mean, let's just go back to what the Stats SA has been telling us about official unemployment rates in South Africa. We are sitting at 29.1%. That's just the formal unemployment. Not to mention unemployment in an informal sense, where you've got people that have even given up on looking for employment or seeking for jobs. We were sitting at about 40%. I mean, where I was trying to check and scan across the globe and look at different countries, particularly America. America, I think, was one country with the lowest unemployment rate, sitting at 3.4%. And the projections right now, they vary between, America is going to be sitting with between 10 and 14% unemployment, right? So, but that is even not fixed yet. You're looking at a country with 340 million people, which was having the lowest unemployment rate on earth. It was almost like there's full employment, because when you are sitting at 3.4%, you're almost sitting at full employment. Right. But now we are sitting in a country with 59 million people, where you have, I mean, what we are talking about being 40% unemployment is just an average, which is now the broader definition. Yeah. But you go to Soweto, you've got 60% young people unemployed there. You go to Mlazi here, you go to Nongoma, 70%, and different other areas across the country. So you can almost see that this type of a situation where everything is just shut down, even though we know now that gradually businesses have started to open, but the impact is going to be so big that I don't think we will be able to afford what will be the resultant effects of such large scales of unemployment. Because you know, when people are unemployed, and when people they become desperate. That's right. When people are desperate, they can resort to anything. Yeah. So we are sitting here with a problem that is compounded by the whole history of a construct called South Africa, which construct is exacerbated by the issues of the fact that we've always had our own challenges that we're still trying to reel ourselves out of. But now it's even worse, because we are going to have to see how do we reset the economy of this country and reconstruct the economy of this country after COVID-19.
Now, in which case, I mean, if you were to look at those numbers, my body is itching as you just quote the numbers and the statistics, especially in the townships and the rural areas. So do you think so in essence, you're saying more people are going to go into the welfare system?
Definitely. The big, as it is called, basic income grant system is going to be heavily strained. There's no doubt about that. If you just again reflect on the whole economic architecture in our country, the whole economic landscape, and what drives the economies, especially just look, for instance, at which industries are likely going to be more successful going forward, are going to grow. IT is one such industry, as an example. That's right. I was just having some discussions a few days ago with some of our colleagues, discussing as to what could go wrong with companies shutting down, both from the unemployment perspective as well as from the models of business. For instance, business people who will then be able to say, well, we want to change our model. And our model is going to be that one of ensuring that we leverage very strongly on the fourth industrial revolution. That's right. We leverage very strongly on artificial intelligence. You and I are talking through Zoom today. I've been holding meetings with my colleagues, business partners, and many others via Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So this means this industry is going to be taking a very good sort of like curve in terms of growth.
That's right.
So, but when you then look at business people who may then decide and say, we no longer want to have a physical office space. Let's do this thing the way we're doing it right now via this technology. The business models are going to change, definitely. Even if we say today, all businesses must open, right? But definitely, because of the financial impact this era has had, some businesses may not be able to sustain, except to perhaps invest the little they have in terms of into technology so that they can be able to have such meetings. So you can see there's different scenarios that can play out of this whole situation going down the road.
That's right. Wow. Just a couple of other areas. Basically, what is your view? How can I'm trying to think, if we get another, hypothetically, 3 to 5 million people that would require, grant funding from, not funding, grants from government through the social welfare scheme. What potential sustainable solutions can we come up with? Just to give you an example, when we grew up, I grew up in a township called Imbali, Pietermaritzburg. Literally every household had a vegetable garden. Every household had something that we called islugu, ihogo. We had chickens. Every household had, a fruit tree. I know in Durban, people had avocados and bananas. In Pietermaritzburg, we had peaches. Literally every household, Mbali, had peaches. So in summer, we had peaches. We would trade and give each other peaches and get cabbage. And then, would slaughter from Ehogweni or Eslukweni, once in a while, more Pasilas calling, etc., etc. What other potential sustainable livelihood means if the National Treasury or the fiscus cannot afford to give grants to literally everyone who needs a grant? Because clearly, if you're taking 5 million or 3 to 5 million people off the payroll, you're losing 5 million of disposable income, PAYE, etc., etc. So what other sustainable means come to your mind, just on top of your head? Can we use maybe potentially agriculture and township economy? What exactly comes to your mind?
Nhlanhla, you must remember that we are currently sitting with about 18 million people on basic income grants in South Africa.
Yes.
That is a very large number.
Yes.
Only getting from a small pool of taxpayers. So whether government likes it or not, government itself acknowledges that they cannot sustain this type of a situation.
That's right.
So let's just park that and come back to the question you asked. You see, we spoke about the critical juncture moment, the reset button. Right. And I'll make an example for you. Government has got a very huge opportunity to reset the economy the best way the economy has to be.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do I mean by that? Some we are on the fringes of economy. A lot of black people. There's no debate about that. Yeah. These are people with great ideas who want to come in and be part of the economic mainstream, but they find themselves they find it not easy to come into the economic mainstream.
Right.
But government, what they've done, which is good, which is commendable, for instance, is to bank, for instance, where they've said to the banks, please, banks, you can now lawfully collude. That's what government has said in simpler, very basic terminology. Banks collude, because remember, collusion is normally done, is an illegal act.
Yeah.
That is done by some monopolies and oligopolies, etc., where people come together and fix the prices.
That's right.
But banks are now allowed to come and collude and discuss how do they help the ordinary person on the streets.
I hear you.
Right. So is the supply chain of government, has been reworked a little bit to make sure that all covered supply material moves faster, etc.
That's right.
So, and basically government has been given that dictatorship role to
Yeah.
say do as you please just to save the country.
That's right.
That just now, Zoom,
I hear
shine
you.
some light on that spot right now.
Yeah.
What government needs to do is to do exactly what they are doing to big industry, to the mainstream economy, to the small guys out there.
Wow.
We need to, there's an example of something we always complain about, where you have got your big retail shops. All of a sudden now, babhaka amakwenya bathengisa ukudla okuthengiswa ugogo mantshangase laphana on the street noma Mfukeng.
That's right.
Mfukeng can no longer, because Mfukeng doesn't have the muscle, the financial power that your big retail shop has.
Right.
In terms of economies of scale and bulk buying and all that. But Mfukeng is finding it very difficult to sell amakwenya, because amakwenya, they are being sold in these big shops.
Yeah.
And not only that, these big shops are now moving spaza shops into townships.
The township, yeah.
Yeah. Not to say people must always be doing spaza business, as it were, if you understand what spaza means.
That's
from
right.
The background of spaza shops. But government now can assert itself, and people can organize and say, well, we don't want spaza big retail shops.
Right.
Because these are things, I mean, in other words, they are locking people out of the economy completely. So if you look at urban, semi-urban areas, there is a lot of work that must be done, both from national, provincial, and local governments, using bylaws to make sure that they reset the economic landscape and ensure that, I mean, if you go to Zimbabwe, I think the last time I was there, the retail sector and wholesale is only for local Zimbabweans.
Yeah.
So is with other countries across the world. Some people may argue and say that's protectionism and all of that. But what do you do in South Africa's economic environment context? You've got to find ways of being creative within the situation, just like you've done with the big business. And lastly, I think you touched on something very crucial when you spoke about agriculture.
Right.
Agriculture is an engine. It may be contributing minutely into the GDP of the country.
Right.
But honestly speaking, who can live without agriculture? None. Basic stuff like food security is something that government must invest in. You know, all of these things, one home, one garden, and all of those types of stuff must really become a reality. Like
That's
you
right.
were making an example for yourself in Pietermaritzburg and in other places. We need to invest now in food security, because a lot of these, you know, the economics as we have studied it, honestly, some of these things, you know, things like creating the shortages that are artificial. It happens all the time when people hold back their stock so that they can push up the prices and activate the law of supply and demand, etc. But imagine if people of my hometown, Nongoma, are all having the chickens that lay eggs,
right?
The table egg, that is,
right?
And are all having inkukhu zesiZulu, noma inkukhu zesiXhosa, noma inkukhu zesiSuthu, I don't know, whatever you call it.
Yeah, the Sintu.
Yeah, these things, the Sintu, yes.
Yeah.
Are all having a small garden where they plant cabbages. And they've got their own livestock and secured like that and all of that. I think that's going to be the way to go very aggressively after this situation, to make sure that people are not hungry and there's food security, including now urban agriculture.
You're right.
All these high-rise buildings that you see, we've got to find ways of ensuring that we plant on top of those high-rise houses. In townships, all these hydroponic tunnels and urban agricultural methods must be fully utilized to make sure that people are not hungry.
That's
because
right.
once you have addressed that, the rest you can now start addressing, knowing very well that people have been secured in terms of basic stuff like food.
Wow. Critical juncture, that's where we are. So you're basically saying government has an opportunity to reset the economy, to push Black economic empowerment, to, you know, they've done it. There's precedence now, you know, through this, the last 2 months, basically. I want us later, maybe towards the end, to speak about the critical juncture globally, because after every critical juncture, like you alluded to, after after the World War, after the Second World War, there was World Bank, you know. I can't remember what triggered the IMF, but there was IMF, there was World Bank, etc., etc. So after every critical juncture, there's something huge that happens. Maybe we can just go through it now before we come to our conclusion. But you know, do you think, you know, the critical juncture globally may also level the playing field, you know, between those, you know, well-off countries against countries like developing countries like in Africa, Asia, and South America? Do you think something major might happen? Not maybe, I don't think in the form of a new multilateral organization, but it could be in the form of something new. I don't know what it is, but something else to happen to level the playing field.
Absolutely, Nhlanhla. I'll just take you to the example of Donald Trump. Some other people have a problem with him stopping to support the WHO, World Health Organization,
right,
arguing that he still needs to see this WTO as well. What's happening there? You know how the President of the United States thinks. It's quite an interesting time that we live in, because for me, if you look at it on the other side, probably America is doing a good thing by holding back the funding, so that other countries will rise and take hold of a World Health Organization, as an example. Because that means now there is almost equal influence.
Right.
Unlike when I know I'm supporting who.
I'm losing you, Nonkosi.
Okay, sure. I'm back now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, unlike me knowing that I'm supporting WHO with 60% of its budget.
Right.
But if then there is all countries on board and funding World Health Organization, almost, I know countries are not equal, but almost in an equal measure, that affects even the institutions that govern our world.
Right.
Now, let's come to what you asked about in terms of what other material changing are we expecting across the globe. What I'm envisaging will change is obviously the global supply chains.
Right.
Let's take for instance a case in point of China. Many countries have been having China as a factory of the world.
That's right.
Producing everything being produced in China because of low cost wages and the type of system that exists there in China. But you see America started and Germany, because of this COVID-19, it set China in confrontation with other countries of the world. Now those countries are saying, we want our business back, we want our economies back that we had sort of like exported to you. But China obviously is on an advantage on many other, in various other ways.
That's right.
One of which is it has invested in its people. It has had an ability to take out of poverty 800 million people from its 1.4 billion population in just 40 years' time. And China's economy is now knowledge-driven, and hence the issues of 5G technology and other stuff,
right?
Which is a very competitive space right now for the first world countries and leaders in economy across the globe. But if you now look at Africa, Africa has an opportunity to attract a lot of what other countries would have said we no longer want to take to China, as an example, in terms of foreign direct investment.
That's right.
But not only FDI, because sometimes I argue and say FDI is not a silver bullet to our problems, both in South Africa as well as in the continent.
Yeah.
We need to nurture local homegrown companies.
That's right.
I mean, you look at Germany. Germany is mostly driven by family businesses.
You're
you
right.
Go to Stuttgart. You go to Stuttgart. You go to all these other sort of like provinces in Germany. You find a small company in Germany that is almost become a multinational enterprise, M&E.
You're right.
Located in, because it's supported by the German government. South Africa, we must not be fixated on FDI as if that's a solution to our problems.
That's right.
We need to make sure that Mzilangata and Nonkosi Mfukeng, who has an idea is assisted. We create this entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is able to support local talent, local industry, local enterprises, and grow them to become multinational enterprises, multi-continental enterprise, if you want, or a continental enterprise that cut across all countries in our African continent.
Wow.
So there's a huge reset button that's going to happen in the global supply chain, and in terms of institutions as well. I think those are set to be the outcomes of the critical juncture of this time.
Yo, finally, as Christians, as abazalwane, you know, we both you and I are Christians, and we love the Lord. We, you know, we believe that Jesus is our Lord and Savior. He died for our sins. Now, I can't close this conversation without looking at what do you think the perceived role, or maybe the reimagined role, that the church can play in rebuilding this economy, especially in South Africa, looking at the local context, you know, both maybe macro stroke national as well as at a micro level. What do you think the church, what role do you think the church can play, Nonkosi, in assisting through this, call it restructuring of the economy or resetting of the economy, as you have put it, brother?
Look, there's a lot to say about the church. We all are church kids. We're coming from that environment. We respect it highly because of what it has done.
Right.
Understanding very well that it's not as perfect as well. But church is a sleeping giant. Church can take a huge leadership role when it comes to the economy of this country, because it's only in church where you have got people really committed to a religious cause, if you want,
right,
and who really listen to their leaders. You know, whether good or bad, but at times they can listen to their leaders when their leaders say drink petrol. That just shows how much obedient the church is.
That's right.
What I think the church needs to do, we normally talk about this on our programs when we are discussing church economy, that the church should play a role in leading, because the church is within communities.
That's
the
right.
church sees what is happening in each and every community. It serves destitutes. It's got people who are suffering in various other ways. And it's got resources that are all gathered together under one roof, who are very much ready to serve their Lord, because once a leader has made a call and says we need people who are going to serve God in this space, the church can then hit hard. If you look at all primary sectors of the primary sector as an example, whether it's in mining or it's in agriculture in particular, or it's in ocean economy, all marine type economy, the church must be actively involved, depending where the church is. If the church is here in Durban, I would expect that in that church, they will be looking at these things of marine economy as an example. Get the members of the church to participate meaningfully. But I think the church needs to be united. I'm not a pastor like you, Mzilangata, but I'm observing as a member of the church and looking from a distance. I can tell that if we can have a unity of purpose in leadership, it will advance us very much forward as a church.
Just to add, Nonkosi, I actually also, well done, thank you, thanks for that response. Before, our final question is, when do you think we have to open? But before we get to that question, I just want to add, I strongly believe the church should also begin to advocate for something new, for a change. You know, just to give you an example, Kos Becker of NASPAS, I'm just picking on him, and so unfortunately that's the first name that came out of my mind. He cashed out, you know, a few billion rands recently. I think 3-4 years ago, a few years ago. I think there's something wrong, that the church has been very silent on issues like that, where the rich will always get richer. That's the nature of you know, the capitalist system. We're not advocating for any change in the system, but we're saying there's got to be some level of morality, and conscience, and where we begin to engage on the issues of which there's one gentleman, I think his surname is Both, I've forgotten his name. He's always been fighting the JSE listed companies, but he was alone.
Yes.
I was always saying that gentleman is actually playing the role of a church. We've got people who can analyze the financial statements from the church of every company, every listed company. We can actually buy one share or as a church to every JSE listed company or any listed entity in the country, and then become a shareholder, just one share. And then by the virtue of having one share, you are able to go to each and every AGM and engage the companies and say, there's no ways we can increase the salaries and the share options by this exorbitant amount when you were even unable to give your employees a 5% increase. So I think there's, just to add to the role of there's a lot more that the church should begin to do. But again, as you're saying, Nonkosi, the first step is unity. If we are not united, there's no ways we can even make an impact and begin to. The last question on my side, it's the question that I just browsed through. When do you think, you've told us the impact, when do you think we should open? Should we wait for the vaccine, Nonkosi? Sometime mid next year. Should we go until September? We're all scared. Sabugu for Nonkosi. Are you saying we should go out there and die? No. What is your view?
Before I just answer that, I wanna state this one or two issues first to say the impact that this situation is having. We've already discussed it.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Yeah,
and without sounding like a prophet of doom, we must understand that a hungry stomach knows no boundaries.
Yeah, I hear.
And if you look at what is going to happen in terms of the unemployment levels, we've already stated that our treasury, they went as far as 5 million people may lose their jobs. At some point, there's an article I read where they went as far as 7 million people may lose their jobs. So this just tells you about the enormity of the situation that we find ourselves in. And we cannot, number one, be irresponsible and call for floodgates to say, let's open as if we are irresponsible beings.
Right.
But we cannot wait for the vaccine to come.
Yeah.
We've got to do what I think the government has started doing, but increase a little bit of the pace and putting all measures in place to ensure that people are protected, etc. But we've got to open the economy in Zilankata. That's my view. We've got to open the economy. Yeah.
In fact, just to add, the companies will have the resources to put the measures in place to protect the workers, as compared to the people going to queue outside Gaboxa, downtown, as we have seen literally in every city throughout the country. So companies will be better placed to put the correct measures in place to ensure that their employees are protected. This is where I think the Department of Labor should make sure that they check on a regular basis to ensure that the companies are complying. But I suspect, a caring company will definitely look after its employees, and the employees have been made aware over the last 40 odd days of the the effect of the corona. I think I tend to agree with you. I think we need to accelerate the pace a little bit. We can't move from 4 to 3. My view, Nonkosi, maybe I'm a bit aggressive. We should move from 4 to 2. ASAP, even before the end of this month. I think we need to do something. People have been made aware. We've created the awareness. I'm in the schooling environment. I certainly think we need to start with the industries before we even rush to the schools. I got a little bit worried when I saw the schools were about to open. I'm kind of conflicted in this one because I'm in the business of schools. I want the schools to open sooner. But personally, I believe that the schools should be the last to open as compared to the industries. Because the industry, you've got older people, mature people who are going to be a lot more responsible. So I I'm personally, like you, advocating for the opening. The sooner we open, the better, and put strict measures in place and get our Department of Labor, maybe beef up the Department of Labor to ensure that it helps with compliance. And the municipalities, they've got environmental health departments who will all assist. What is your final word, Nonkosi, as we're about to wrap up, my brother?
Yeah, Nhlanhla, thank you so much. I really want to say this, that it's a unique situation that we all find ourselves in. It's a challenge for our government. They need us as well to support them with good ideas, as well as agitate for real change that we must see in the economic landscape. I really think, definitely, I'm there with you. I agree fully with you. We need to fast track the opening of the economy. But at the same time, my last view is, let us get, whether you want to call it transformation that is fast-paced,
that's right,
which others call radical, or you wanna get an inclusive economy, whatever the term that
that's
you are choosing. The key issue is, we cannot have majority of the Black people of this country sitting in the fringes of economy and hoping that they will get the basic income grants and all the types of grants. They have got the mind, they have got ideas. The ideas must be supported in a non-partisan manner.
That's right.
The country must support great ideas. This country, the president once cited a very interesting statement in his first SONA, where he said South Africa is going to become an entrepreneurial state.
That's right.
I haven't heard that in the other subsequent SONAs. Whoever advised him at first did a very good thing. But thereafter, it seems it's dying down. We need to go back to that statement and unpack it. And get South Africa to become an entrepreneurial state.
That's right.
In the true sense of the word. And create South Africa as an entrepreneurial ecosystem where everyone who is an entrepreneur who wants to contribute positively to this country is going to thrive. Ikakhulukazi laba bakwethu abasahlezi bezicela nkome Nhlanhla.
Oh, Nonkosi, you've given us a mouthful. My brother, uNkulunkulu akubusise. May you stay blessed. We really sidle kakhulu from the interview. May God bless you. Have a good weekend, my brother. Konze kai.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Bless you. Namhlanje, we have my beloved friend. In fact, about this time last year, we were in Serbia, doing business in the agricultural space as part of the delegation with the provincial leadership of the Department of Agriculture. We traveled to Serbia. Which other countries going to? Belarus. We also went to Belarus.
Yes, Belarus.
Bless you.
Yeah, quite a few Eastern European countries.
We went to Eastern